Let's dive right into an explainer of one of the most elusive, captivating, and frankly mysterious creatures on the entire planet. Today, we're using a fascinating scientific overview to break down exactly what makes this animal tick, and to do that, we are heading into some of the absolute most unforgiving terrain on Earth.
I want you to picture this: a harsh, freezing, low oxygen environment literally filled with precipitous cliffs, rocky ridges, and deep snow. We're talking about the alpine and subalpine zones of Central and South Asia. Now ask yourself, what on earth could possibly thrive up there? Not just scrape by, but actively conquer such an extreme landscape.
The answer? The snow leopard. This is a creature so rarely seen, so perfectly camouflaged, and so brilliantly adapted to its high-altitude home that it's earned a near-mythical nickname, the Ghost of the Mountains. It's this stocky, short-legged predator that just blends almost seamlessly into the rocky, snow-dusted background. It's like a magic trick. And because it's so incredibly elusive, the snow leopard is actually revered as a sacred creature. Often called the Akbars or white leopard, it's a massive political and cultural symbol for groups like the Tatars and Kazakhs. I mean, you'll see it featured on national coats of arms, official city seals, even local currency. But, behind this powerful cultural myth is a highly specialized biological marvel. Okay, Section 1, the mountain ghost, origins and evolution. To really understand this phantom's incredible survival skills, we need to look deep into the phylogenetic record to see exactly where it comes from. Now, get this, what's truly fascinating here is the snow leopard's closest relative. Despite actually being called a leopard, genetic analysis shows that the snow leopard forms a sister group with the tiger. Yeah, their genetic divergence happened millions of years ago. And while we associate them strictly with the Himalayas in Central Asia today, fossil records suggest that they, or at least their paleo subspecies, might have actually prowled parts of Europe during the Pleistocene epoch. Wild, right?
Nowadays, scientifically known as Panthera ansea, this cat claims a massive, rugged territory stretching all the way from the Hindu Kush in eastern Afghanistan across the Himalayas right up to southern Siberia. To put that into perspective, they're generally hanging out between 3,000 and 4,500 meters in elevation, though they will come further down during the really harsh winters.
Moving to Section 2, built for the extreme, biological adaptations. The million-dollar question here is how this cat physically endures some of the absolute toughest terrain out there. If you stock the snow leopard up against other big cats in the Panthera genus, like your lions, tigers, or regular leopards, you see some really unique structural changes. They've got this domed forehead and a much shorter muzzle. But here's the craziest difference. Despite having a partly ossified hyoid bone, just like those other big cats, a snow leopard physically cannot roar. Nope. Its vocal folds are only 9 millimeters long, which just doesn't give enough resistance to airflow. So instead, they meow, grunt, moan, and make this non-threatening puffing sound called prustin. And these right here, these are basically their evolutionary superpowers. Small ears keep the frostbite away. Those large nasal cavities literally act as heaters, warming up the freezing air before it ever hits their lungs. Their broad, fur-covered paws work like built-in snowshoes with specialized winter traction. But my absolute favorite detail is their tail. It's incredibly thick, stores fat, and it's almost a meter long. When they sleep, they literally wrap it completely around their face like a built-in heated blanket. Section 3. Solitary apex hunter. Life and diet. So how does a predator actually manage to find food in a landscape where life itself is just so unbelievably sparse? 270. That number represents the massive upper range in square kilometers that a single adult male snow leopard might claim as his exclusive territory. Just think about the sheer scale of that for a second. Because prey is so hard to come by, an area of 1,000 square kilometers usually supports only about 5 of these cats. They're largely solitary, marking their giant territories with scrapes and scent markings, basically just carefully avoiding each other. But when they do hunt, it is an absolute masterclass in stealth and momentum. They're mostly active at dawn and twilight. A typical hunt starts high up, using the cliffs as a lookout point. Once they lock onto a target, they use the momentum of their initial leap to chase nimble prey down terrifyingly steep slopes. We're talking sprinting down up to 300 meters of vertical drop. Once they're successful, they just drag the carcass off to a safe crevice to eat in peace. So what exactly is on the menu? Mostly wild ungulates, animals like the Himalayan blue sheep, the tahr, argali, and the Siberian ibex. To just survive, a single adult needs about 20 to 30 adult blue sheep every single year. They'll also snack on smaller mammals like marmots and pipes, but there is a catch. When natural wild prey dries up, they will absolutely turn to domestic livestock, which inevitably puts them right into direct conflict with humans.
And that brings us to Section 4, Threats to Survival, the Vanishing Phantom. Here is where we hit a really tragic irony. The untouchable ghost of the mountains, surviving where humans barely can, is actually highly vulnerable. 10%. Shockingly, the global population of mature individuals, which is already estimated to be fewer than 10,000, is expected to decline by about 10% by the year 2040. They're currently sitting on the IUCN Red List as vulnerable. The main things driving this decline? Well, they're deeply rooted in human activity. You've got the illegal wildlife trade, with cities like Kashgar acting as major hubs for trafficking skins and bones for traditional clothing and medicines. Then there's that local human-wildlife conflict we just mentioned. When snow leopards hunt domestic herds, herders understandably protect their livelihoods, and that leads to retaliatory killings. Couple all of that with overgrazing by that same livestock, and the snow leopard's natural home degrades really, really fast. Plus, we have to look at the big picture, the broader global impact. Greenhouse gas emissions are actively warming our planet, and that's expected to cause a massive upward shift in the Himalayan tree line. As that tree line creeps higher and higher, the alpine zone shrinks. This could potentially wipe out an estimated 30% of the snow leopard's habitat. All right, Section 5, Conserving the Snow Leopard, a Global Effort. Look, despite these grim numbers, the story definitely doesn't end there. There is a hugely coordinated, urgent push happening right now to steady and protect what remains of the mountain ghost. Just look at how they're distributed today. It really puts the challenge into perspective. China holds the vast majority of the global population, with estimates hovering around 4,500 individuals. Mongolia and India follow with pretty sizable populations of their own, while way up at the very northern edge of their range, Russia is clinging to fewer than 100 individuals. Clearly, protecting this species isn't just a one-nation job. Animals obviously don't care about human borders, right? Recognizing that, all 12 range countries, from Afghanistan to Uzbekistan, actually convened in 2013. At the Global Snow Leopard Forum in Kyrgyzstan, these governments agreed on transboundary support. They realized that securing the future of the snow leopard means legally protecting them, setting up transnational wildlife corridors, and ultimately safeguarding this incredibly fragile high mountain environment for absolutely everyone. Which leaves us with one massive, lingering question. We place this animal on our currencies, on our coats of arms, and in our most sacred legends. But can our global conservation efforts, our protected areas, and our climate policies actually outpace the mounting threats? Or will this enduring cultural symbol, perfectly evolved for the roof of the world, become a literal ghost? Take that question with you.